When I moved to India, I was doing the normal Indian thing. I was an aerospace engineer. Now I'm in fourth year of engineering. What do I do? And that's where I made this crazy decision to leave and go to the American Academy of Dramatic Arts. I do believe in following your fears. You have to follow your fears because then the world is free, right? I got to be on a Broadway show that traveled the country for a year in Life of Pi.
Life of Pi, yeah.
Got to be playing an Indian character. It was just a magical experience, yeah.
Welcome to the True Fiction Project, a podcast series that explores the origins of fiction. Every week, we begin with an interview, nonfiction, followed by a creative piece, fiction, inspired by something from the interview. The idea is to demonstrate, of course, that fiction is born out of our life experiences. Now, here's your host, storyteller, author, public speaker, health and wellness expert, Reenita Hora.
Welcome back to the True Fiction Project. I am your host, Reenita Hora, always looking for the best stories to make this show and entertain audiences. And I have a very special guest today. I'm particularly excited about welcoming to the show Rishi Jaiswal, who I met through our common project, Revolution's Wife. So, hi Rishi, welcome to the True Fiction Project.
Thank you for having me. Excited to be here.
It is so great to have you on the show, and for multiple reasons, of course. And we are going to talk about your project, The Last Waltz, which is premiering very soon at the LA Shorts Festival. But before that, I would love to talk about Revolution's Wife. This is a project that both of us are involved in. I'm directing it. You are acting in it. And I have to say that it was crafted around you. So I'm going to throw this over to you. What led you to Revolution's Wife?
I think I had it sent by multiple people to me, being like, I think this is good for you. So I didn't come across the listing until it was referred to me. And then as soon as I saw it, I was like, oh my God, I've always wanted to play a freedom fighter in my life. And then I auditioned for it. You guys, it was such a great time meeting you and everything. And yeah, I was just so nervous in the time we didn't hear back because I don't know, some roles you just really one, you feel like it's like, oh, this is aligned with me. You know how the character thinks, how they function in the world, and you're just so passionate about telling this story. But then, you know, casting is casting, so you waited. But then when you finally got back to me, I was so thrilled. And on set, I couldn't have had a more magical experience with you directing. It was such wonderful writing and such a compassionate story that I'm so excited for people to see it.
You know, Rishi, I remember when we were going through the audition process and I know, on the actor side, how nerve-wracking that can be to sort of wait for that response. But you sent us a poem. Do you remember this?
I did. I had recorded it a week before the audition, too.
Tell us about that. Tell our audiences about that. What led you to that? Why you sent it?
Since I was little, I was born here, but I moved to India when I was 10. And there I really gravitated towards the historical side of education, all the freedom fighter struggles that we had, the Subhash Chandra Bose, the Chandrasekhar Azads, the peaceful, the non-peaceful, everything that really, really got into my soul at that time. And then as we went along, when this project came across my desk, I was like, oh my God, everything I've ever wanted to do in one role. So I've always been very passionate about things like this, whether it be, I've always been trying to fight for the underdog. And when it comes to situations like Gaza, the poem was about Gaza. Mm-hmm. And it was about the atrocities that were going on. And I thought it resonated with the freedom struggle in India so much that I was so passionate about that I could directly transfer it to this character. So I was like, you know what? I don't think this is kosher, but let me just send this poem because it's passionate and they'll see that side of me that I'm so invested in something like this beyond the lines and the role and stuff. So I was like, let's take a chance. It could go either way,
I'm so glad you sent it. I really am, because, that passion, that rings right through. And so much of the time, you just don't know what's going to happen. And with this industry, and, you apply for something, you audition. Am I going to get the call back? Am I going to get the audition? Those things. you just never know, because you're right. There's so many people who apply. And even on, this side of the camera, or, the audition room, I should say, at that point, you don't know. There are a lot of good actors out there, but like, which one is going to be, the right fit for Ram? Right. And so I'm so glad you did that, because it did certainly help us to sort of weed through that process, get to know you better. And I have to say, the entire movie, I think I've mentioned this to you before, but I don't know how seriously you take me. It was really built around you. Are you aware of that? It means
the world. It does mean the world. Like that means so much to me, that you trusted me for this role. It's such a big, important role because of our lead character being Padma and everything the antagonist pushes towards her. I would say he's kind of an antagonist, but a general husband of the time freedom fighter who's very focused on his mission. And I think that's what the story is about here, is like who gets forgotten in these stories. And the way you told it was so, it's kind of like what they're trying to do with the Odyssey now, where it's like, oh, let's tell this story from a universal perspective, not just female, but let's equalize it. And that's what you did. And I don't think we get to see that other than Jhansi Ki Rani and things like that in the freedom struggle.
Right, absolutely. Well, I was just fascinated by Padma. And you're right, she is the lead. She's the protagonist. This is her story. Yes. But without a Ram, there is no Padma.
Right.
Let's be
this
perfectly
is the opposite
clear.
Ram. This is not Ram Sita, this is Ram Padma.
Exactly. And she became the Padma that, she is at the end of the film. She has a story arc, a very clear story arc. So where she starts out, what she is, to where she ends up and who she becomes or is becoming, is a clear function of Ram. Right. And his attitude towards her, his treatment of her, what he, let's just say, uses her for, if I'm going to put it in those words, and no spoilers, we have to leave that to audiences to watch the film. So for me as a director, that was very, very critical, was to find the right Ram, of course, to find the right Padma. And what was interesting about the universe has a way of just doing things that are beyond us, and we plan as best as we can, but we actually had a different Padma initially cast, and for one reason or the other that didn't work out, and I was kind of devastated in the middle of all of that, and really turned to you, and you rescued me. You rescued the movie, but you rescued me.
I mean, it was all the work you already did. I was just making suggestions, but at the end of the day, it was like, who knew a war would break out, in the middle of our shoot. So it was, you guys, I mean, the way you pulled this production together, I think, and it was pitched at Sundance, right? Like, this project was so, oh my God, I can't wait for people to see this. It's going to be beautiful. The way it came together, you're right. The universe has its own way. So I just can't wait for the journey ahead.
What was funny, and funny is not even the right word, was after that, once we were in production, actually, on set, Candace, my co-writer and co-producer, says to me, she's like, I mean, this is the perfect Padma and Ram. I mean, visually, the way they interact with each other, the chemistry, like, why did we not see this earlier? And I'm like, oh,
well, you had no idea. I knew her also, right? I knew Nosheen.
Exactly.
So it's good to go network, meet people.
What was ironic was that I happened to be at Sundance last year only because I was selected to be part of a pitch showcase to pitch this project. And that was in one of the rooms, at Sundance. And then, as luck would have it, or I don't know what, the hands of the universe, I'm walking down that street. It is cold as anything. All I'm doing is complaining about the cold and thinking about why Robert Redford or anyone else who's great. Exactly. Was it to have, a film festival in the middle of friggin' winter?
They're moving it, correct or no? Are they moving it to LA?
They're moving it to Boulder. It's as bad.
Boulder, Colorado. You're okay.
Yeah.
Correct.
And then I run into Nosheen. I just run into her, literally on the road while I'm complaining in my head. And she's like, oh, we look at each other and like, oh, hi. And then, for a minute it was awkward because she had actually already auditioned for the role. In my head I was like, oh my gosh, what am I going to say to her?
Right.
We ended up spending the afternoon together that day at Sundance and the rest of the day. And we we had this conversation, part of which was, how do we actually work on a project together in the future that gets into Sundance?
Right.
That's so ironic. Now, it's not as if to say we've even applied for this movie to be in Sundance just yet.
Sure.
But the way all of that worked out, and then she becomes Padma eventually.
It's great. There is a thing to be said that once you put in the work, I call it the invisible hand of the universe that helps you get there. I asked Nosheen a long time ago, I was like, so you spend money sometimes to go and invest to these festivals, even sometimes when you don't have a film there. Is it worth it? You know, like that's my conservative brain thinking. Mm-hmm. The only reason she met you is because she put that work in. She took the initiative to go all the way to Sundance and just spent a lunch with the director who she never knew. So like when directors audition us and we don't get the role, we don't blame the director. We just go within ourselves and be like, sometimes it's, oh, what could I have done better? Other times you're just like, universe, I tried my best. That's all you can do, you know. Yeah.
But it's amazing also how these things work out, because I remember when you came for the costume fitting, which was like even before we were on set.
Right.
There was all this conversation about your shirt and the color of the shirt. Is it too bright? It was very bright color. And you did this very silly but wonderful dance, which you put on your social media, your Instagram story. And I was like, wow, I never knew he was a dancer. That opened my eyes.
That's where I started. I started on So You Think You Can Dance, Good Morning America, shows like that. So that's before acting. It started with dance, and I just had to speak.
Well, you know, when you're from India, the acting and the dancing is all part of the same.
It's in the blood.
Exactly.
My 90-year-old grandma will get up and dance. It's in the blood.
And I loved that. In fact, okay, so it's got me thinking about something else, but we'll later.
Sure. This needs to be an hour long.
Oh my gosh, life is too short. Please.
I know.
You know, what is an hour? Speaking of dance and speaking of your background, how you got into the industry, why? Because it is not, it's not typical, let's say.
Mm-hmm. Sure.
That's not as if to say there are not South Asian actors. Of course there are plenty, but it's not necessarily the chosen path for every South Asian person, right? So I'd love to hear a little bit more about your journey.
I'll take you a little bit back. When I moved to India, I was kind of without my parents. I was with another family there that I was staying. My parents were still here. And as an out, like kind of like a vent, I took to dance. Like Hrithik Roshan was a new thing, so I would watch all his things and just learn all his dance moves. And that's where I was getting attention and love, the love I was missing from home and parents and things, because they were here. And once I got into college, I was doing the normal Indian thing. I was an aerospace engineer in second, third, but I was also running the dance team there. And we had a dance team of all freshman people who was going up against the biggest of the UC San Diego, UCSC, and we went to Philadelphia. And I remember telling our team, I would walk into rehearsal every day with this finger and be like, we're winning number one. No matter what, we're winning. And they'd be like, this guy's crazy. We have a bunch of freshman people, 2 left feet, all over the place. But we did. We won that thing, and that's what got me into dance. So while I was studying aerospace engineering, I was also contracted to be part of Bollywood Step, which was a dance company. And then I moved on to NDM. And from NDM, we got to go on So You Think You Can Dance, Good Morning America, Superstars of Dance, like a bunch of big TV shows. And I was like, oh, this is nice. I get paid to be a part of this, and there's lights on me, and people are looking at me, and I get to dance and have fun. Okay, but now I'm in 4th year of engineering. What do I do? And that's where I made this crazy decision to leave and go to the American Academy of Dramatic Arts. I auditioned, and I got into that, and that's where I felt like all the because I do believe in following your fears. Like that's my number one rule in your life. You have to follow your fears, because then the world is free. Right? So once I did that, I went to the American Academy of Dramatic Arts, kept dancing, and then, from there, TV, feature films, commercials, you name it, theater. I got to be on a Broadway show that traveled the country for a year in Life of Pi. Yeah. Got to be playing an Indian character with a lungi, and it was just a magical experience. Yeah. Yeah. And then came Reenita. While I was in the tour, while I was in my green room, I was like, I need to audition for this, guys. And we did it in the dressing room 30 minutes before I was supposed to be on stage.
And that was like another hand of the universe because, we had just signed on Anup Kulkarni, who is our director of photography for Revolution's Wife, and he had worked on Life of Pi.
The movie. How crazy is that?
Exactly.
Synchronicity.
Exactly. And then right after that, I see your resume, whatever audition application. I was like, Life of Pi? Okay. Like, what's happening here? But, so this is interesting. You were more afraid of acting and the acting life than you were of life out of space. That's
very easy. Aerospace is very easy when you can take a book and then just know the information and apply it. Acting, free for all, man. Go. Do what you want with this character. It's nerve-wracking, but it's way more satisfying to me.
Love the perspective. So you are working on a bunch of your own projects as well, one of which is The Last Waltz.
Yes.
And you're acting in it. You have created that project. Is that right? Tell us about it.
Yes, I wrote it and I produced it. I hired a wonderful director, Hunter James Cox, who did a wonderful, amazing job with it. It's a film about two parents who have a trans daughter, and they used to run a dance studio together, and they got together, but then this thing that they have a trans daughter and the dad just can't seem to digest that is the crux of their relationship. And unfortunately, something tragic happens to the daughter, and we're showing glimpses of their story in this that led to whatever tragic situation they're in. So it's told from the perspective of South Asian parents, which I really wanted to introduce this concept to the South Asian community through, which I'm happy we can do.
Yeah, I that is so important, and that is, I think, another thing that connects you and me a lot, because it's a lot of our original work is perspectives of the South Asian experience.
Absolutely.
Why this particular story, this particular topic about a trans daughter or a trans child? What was it about this that drew you to it?
If I have to speak personally, I think dance falls in a very yin and yang place. It's a very you're both masculine and feminine when you're doing that. And I think that's how we relate to the trans experience. So I could be the most liberal person in the world. I could be most accepting of everyone. But then I was like, what if there's an American-born South Asian who this situation happens in their house? They're very pro-everyone. But how do they, while not understanding what their child is going through, support them? And if they don't support them, is that a tragic character? And that's what I wanted to explore. You don't need to understand what your children, I'm speaking to a mother, I know, but you don't need to understand your children, you just need to support them. We're not raising kids, we raise cattle. We're nurturing a plant, right? So whatever that plant becomes, you don't know how long its branches will go, right? You just water the plant as best as you can, toil the soil, right? So that's what the story is about.
Hope that there's no weed seed underneath, because that
you
doesn't take
remove
over the garden.
right. You pray and you just look out for the weeds as best you can. But after a certain point, your hands start. Okay, you're your own adult. You're going to make your own decisions now.
No, absolutely. And I love that, Rishi, because you're so right. Too often parents in general, South Asian parents, it's like they need to control everything. They need to control the perfect outcome. I'm working on a comedy story right now, which hopefully will go into production next year. And it's very much about that. It's like the obsessive South Asian mother, father, and get off my back, in comedy. So a totally different world. But this is it. And we can't control. As parents, we cannot. That's not the reason why we brought these human beings into this universe. So I love that you are exploring that. I love that you are exploring that through the kind of dilemma which feels like such a challenge to a South Asian parent. It shouldn't be, but it feels like that,
Absolutely.
And I love that you're exploring it through dance, which is sort of, let's say, your first love, in a sense. Or
Absolutely. First and last. Sorry.
Yes, entryway.
Right.
So The Last Waltz is going to premiere fairly soon, is that right?
First week of August at the LA Shorts International Film Festival, which is an Oscar and BAFTA qualifying, so one step closer.
Yay! So you know that we will be rooting for you, all of us.
Oh my God, that's amazing. I can't wait for you guys to see it.
Yeah, I can't wait to see. And what is the journey for the movie after that? Is it other festivals?
We're going to find out. Right now it's in festivals, so we're going to do our festival run, and then after that, right now we just want the story to get to as many people as possible, you know.
Fantastic.
Yeah.
And is that, would you say, your main project right now that you're focused on?
I think that's kind of coming to an end. Now the festival run will take over. The next project we're working on is a play I did back in 2019 that I'm bringing back called Radicals, that deals with the Iran war and everything, and it talks about the effect of warfare on civilian populations and how one person's terrorist is another person's radical, is another person's freedom fighter, and showing the same thing from the American's perspective as well as the Indian perspective, where I use Kashmir as the backdrop for Gaza, and talk about everything that's going on in India. Everything I want to talk about is in this play, and it's an action play. It's super cool. So we applied for this amazing $40,000 grant, the LANPP grant, that we find out in October. And if we get that, amazing. If not, we're still going to do it in February. So look out for that.
My gosh. I mean, it makes perfect sense why we started with Revolution's Wife. Just perfect sense now.
Perfect. Yeah, I love that. Yeah.
A friend of mine said to me, you know, if you couldn't be the freedom fighter yourself because you weren't born back in the day, right, then just the very fact that you live to tell their stories makes you a freedom fighter. So
that's beautiful. That's so beautiful. That's amazing.
So that's you and me, both of us.
Yeah.
Okay, Rishi, this is wonderful. I am very much looking forward to seeing The Last Waltz. So what should we be looking out? What should be on our radar? Where can we find out about the screenings, the showings, that kind of thing?
You can follow me on my Instagram. It's at the.rishi.jaiswal. And there I will post all about when we get our schedule for the screening, and I hope to see you guys there. All the support means the world.
Fantastic. Well, we will definitely be rooting for you, as I said, and we will include all of the links and everything in our show notes, so definitely be sure to send us those.
And now to the premise of the True Fiction Project, which of course is to create fiction out of nonfiction.
Having a baby boy!
Your son cannot be going around this school telling people to call him a girl.
If this behavior continues, we'll have to expel your son from the school.
My daughter, actually.
What's wrong?
Where were you when I needed you?
Do you still blame me?
Thank you for listening to the True Fiction Project with Reenita Hora. Be sure to subscribe to the newsletter to receive more inspiring stories showing how fiction is born from our everyday experiences. For more information, visit www.truefictionproject.com.